here in the leafy eastern suburbs of Sydney, I'm going to tell you why the Trailhawk version of the Jeep Compass is a cut above the rest. I'm going to show you all its tips and tricks. Excuse all the dogs and what have you in the park. They've given this a bit of a facelift halfway through its upgrade, and the Trailhawk, the top model, is unique. And in fact, it's almost unique in Jeep, but it's unique in the Compass range because it's the only one with a diesel. And in fact, it's the only Jeep with a diesel, period. Diesel's going out of fashion. When I was speaking to Jeep the other day, they told me that they were heading towards full electrification with a battery electric version coming in whenever it's coming. They've also got a couple of hybrid versions currently. The Wrangler, for example, the 4xe, that's not coming to Australia, or at least not in the near future. The Trailhawk is defined by its decals. Well, a few other things as well, but its decals most notably. Excuse the bird poo, that literally just happened. So we've got the decals here on the front, the projector LED headlights, and cameras all the way around. Particularly good for parking, and I'll show you that in a tick. It's got these red extraction points and the sacrifice pieces that go along under the doors and up over the mudguards, come around to the back, and it's just to make you feel like you're doing something that's a little bit more than just easy driveway work. I'll see if I can get this to work. It did first go. That can be a little bit patchy. I'm sure once you know what you're doing with this, that'll work first time every time. The button to lower it unusually is on the side inside, not up on the back door. And inside is a rubber mat, and you can see that the seats fold down, and the armrest in the middle is also a ski hatch. And if we lift this up, you'll see that there is a proper spare tyre, albeit a steel one. Well, that could really take you out. Inside, you certainly sit quite high in the back seat, but even so, there's plenty of headroom. Seats, leather, not particularly soft, but that makes me feel like it'd wear well. And there are tons of outlets back here. A USB, USB-C, normal household socket, and a 12-volt socket, plus an air conditioning vent. So it means that you can run a couple of normal old things, you know, like a fridge or whatever, for that long road trip. You've got to make sure that if you're going to charge your phone, that it's right in the charging unit properly. Whoops. Sorry about that. And there's bongs for everything. This is an American car, so it's trying to tell me that I've not got my seatbelt on and I've got stuff started and all of that sort of stuff. I've opened up in the climate menu, so let me just turn the fan down just a smidgen. I can do that either from here or from inside the climate menu. This is probably the biggest change to inside, and that is the Uconnect 5 system. It's got all the charms along the bottom, and it's how you get into vehicle controls and settings and so forth. And of course it has built-in navigation. And hurrah, it's got built-in CarPlay. Now you can see that's one of the buttons that comes up along the bottom. So if I hit that, I'm now in CarPlay. Now, the other thing is that there's buttons along the bottom here for automated parking, parking sensors, and believe me, you will need that often. Hazard flashes, lane control, traction control, and stop start. And by stop start, I mean the stop start at traffic lights. Down below that are the air conditioning controls, and below that is a USB and USB-C. Also here above the phone charger was meant to be a 12 volt according to the user guide, but it's not there, so I had to plug the dash cam into the back. Here also on the dash there's a drive control. I've got it in auto, but there's off-road settings for rock, sand and mud, snow. There's an automatic parking brake, and thankfully, along with most Jeeps now, most Stellantis products, they will apply the parking brake automatically after an unfortunate incident with a Star Trek star. We've also got four-wheel drive, lock, hill descent control, and low. So this has got a set of low gears as well, which I think is 20 to 1, but I'll check on that. and auto brake hold in traffic, which is not one of my favourite things, so I almost never use it. The diesel engine is quite loud, especially from the outside. This is lovely to drive around town. It's incredibly easy to park because the parking camera is brilliant. And you've got automated control. It's trying to tell me now that the park sensor's been deactivated because I was going too fast. But normally, if you're going slow enough, it'll search for a parking spot. And this is one of the easier systems to operate. While we're stopped at lights, first a couple of Stellantis things, an umbrella company that owns about 13 brands all up. And basically it's owned by two families, the Peugeot family of Peugeot Citroën fame, and they also had a couple of other brands like Opel and so forth. Then you get Fiat Chrysler, and they have the others, so Jeep and so forth, Chrysler, Dodge. There are a couple of other stray brands like Lancia and what have you, and the boss has said that he's going to, after the formation 2 years ago, he's going to give all the brands 5 years to see how they go, and anything that's not performing well is out. So that'll be something to watch out for. It'll be interesting to see what makes it and what doesn't. One thing I like about this top of the range $52,000 Jeep is that the surfaces are nice and soft. I like the way everything is laid out. There's a digital dash in front of me. It's slightly configurable, but what I've got it set at now is a big fat speedo, and the rest of the information is minimal. Partially because I don't actually need a whole lot of information and I don't want to be bombarded by it. The bongs in this thing are bad enough. But I do feel like I could go anywhere. School zone, so that's down to 40k. I've got to say the ride is pretty good. The suspension system is sophisticated enough to make off-roading, and we did do a little bit of track work earlier in the week, to make that bearable. Like some cars you get into are absolutely dreadful. And unlike the Wrangler, which of course is Jeep's kind of hardcore, off-road focused, big butch car, this one is a little more all-purpose. And although you've got those off-roading controls, I strongly suspect it's not going to see all that much use. Fuel consumption, I'm just going to scroll up. Over 565 kilometres, this is doing 8.4 litres per 100 kilometres. That's not especially brilliant, but nor is it bad. I'd have liked to have seen it just a little bit better. Steering wheel, I love the way this is set out. It's nice and simple, and as with all of the Chrysler style or the American products, they've got controls on the back of the steering wheel as well. So one for channel selection and one for volume control. They're a little bit hard to get to use until you know what to do with them. I keep getting one confused for the other. Headlights and so forth, easy to work. There's a knob down on the dash. Don't have to worry about that too much. Doesn't have matrix lights, but the auto high beam seems to work okay. There's also voice control via Siri. This has wireless Apple CarPlay, as I mentioned. And unlike a German brand who shall remain nameless, we'll just call it BMW X, Chrysler has absolutely no plans to charge you to rent that system. And if you're wondering why I haven't done an off-road demonstration, it's because most of my off-roading experience is sand, so sand dunes and desert driving. I've not done a lot of mud, and I've done almost no rock. And I'm not going to start now, certainly not on my own. The steering is light despite these multi-purpose tyres. This was more a family-focused car, or in Gay Reader's case, ones that have a lot of friends to carry around. It's only 5-seater, 5 comfortable seats. The 3 chaps in the back are going to want to be very good friends indeed. But that it's to do it in comfort. So its main aim is to be comfortable. And I think it does that really well. Performance is not spectacular. It's what I would call leisurely. A few last things, a few final things. The The sound system connected to this Uconnect is very, very good. The speakers are excellent. Overall, I think Jeep Compass is a decent looking car, decent looking price. The performance is good. It's got off-road credentials. It feels tough. Doesn't look particularly tough. In fact, I think the base model looks tougher with all the black treatment. Not a bad job. And that's all for the 2022 Jeep Compass Trailhawk. It's quite a capable car, and so long as you intend to do a little bit of good off-roading, it's not a bad choice. As always, hit like, leave a comment, and just there to subscribe.